You know, people like Edgar Wright seem to recognize that. You've got recent posters by him where, you know, his thought processes go directly into the poster. The good thing about Afterlife that I worked on was that Ricky Gervais he had final say, and he also had really clear thoughts from the beginning about what he wanted. And that poster was done in, like, I don't know, three or four rounds, which is pretty rare. Usually these posters have so many iterations. You go for like over 10 rounds of changes. You know, first round is a load of freelancers and people in the agency chucking a ton of ideas onto a deck. That deck gets literally skimmed through by someone in the marketing department. They'll kind of like pick a few that they like, goes back to the agency, and it's just like a back and forth of seeing literally what kind of sticks. Yeah, with Ricky, it was like, okay, here's what I like, here's what I don't like. And then he obviously left the communication to the marketing team. But the poster was exactly what he wanted. It worked. And yeah, that was one of the most successful and enjoyable kind of projects I worked on because it was so clear. And communication is absolutely the key thing.
Welcome to your local Cineplex.
Back, guys. This is your local Cineplex again. I hope you had a fun break between episodes. And today's episode is another fun one, as they always are. I have a great artist. I really have come across your work. Big admire. I love it. I love your work. I'm trying to say it more. With more words or big fancy words and sound.
sometimes those simple words are the best. I like your work.
So yeah, that's about it. I like your work, and it's James. And so yeah, James, let the listeners, the audience know, if they don't know your work already, they don't know you, let them know who you are.
Thanks very much, Zach, for that wonderful, concise introduction. That was cool. I'm James. I guess some people might know me online. I go by James Creative on Instagram, and a lot of people kind of have ended up kind of referring to me as James. I don't know. That might
to do it.
Yeah, there you go. See, it might become a thing. Like, it might become just like an artist name that I just go with. I'm into kind of like quite a lot of angles of poster art. I studied graphic design originally a long time ago in the UK, down in Brighton in the UK, the art university there. For a long time, I was kind of going through the kind of freelance gigs, graphic design. Things kind of got a little bit stale. I took a part-time job at a cinema, a local Cineplex. And it kind of like reignited something for me. Around the same time, a lot of like alternative movie posters were coming to the fore. Like Mondo was starting to gain popularity. I was also going through a bit of a rough time as well, lots of personal matters, so I really needed to focus on something. And I decided to like pick up the pencil again and start kind of like drawing and trying to make my own alternative movie posters. It was like something that was a good way to fix on. Yeah, and it was such a good community at the time, and we're talking sort of like, I don't know, 6 years ago maybe. Poster Spy, I don't know if people have heard of Poster Spy. Yeah. There was a really good like community of people all around that, all sharing imagery. And you know, you're kind of like, it's a perfect way to focus. If you've got a movie, that's your brief right there, you know, represent that movie. It's kind of like, it's simple in that way, and there's so many different ways you can interpret it. Kind of like got illustrating again. The kind of digital part of it was good for me. It took the anxiety out of it because you can obviously go back a couple of steps with a couple of taps, which was always a big thing with like me with drawing. I had huge anxiety of, I've wasted my time, you know, that kind of thing. I had that in the past with, you know, drawing with pen and pencil, to the point where it was like, it was putting me off drawing. But with the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil, it just seemed like a really neat concept.
It's a game
Procreate. Yeah, it absolutely, totally was. Everything seems to kind of come together. Like the popularity of the Apple Pencil, iPad Pro, this community coming up, like it just seemed to like cause a real explosion. And that was something that I loved being part of at the time. So yeah, just started drawing and using my graphic design skills to make illustrated poster work. Things have kind of grown from there to the point where I'm now also doing like official key arts for entertainment. So actual movie posters that you'll see, things like and TV shows as well. I worked on the poster for Afterlife on Netflix with Ricky Gervais. Some stuff for British Film Institute, and these are all kind of posters that use existing photography, and you have to, it's a completely different skill set from drawing posters. And you guys have covered it a lot on here about the good and the bad of key art, good posters.
Yeah.
And you guys, you're totally right. It's highly dependent on the marketing team above you and how clued up they are and how much they want their way against what even the directors and producer want. It can get it's a huge waste of money. Basically, I would term marketing films as just a huge, like, they chuck money at stuff and see what sticks, basically. I wish they kind of target,
No worries. Finish your thought.
No, I just wish they would, find the talent that they want, give a clear instruction from the filmmaker, and let them come up with some options. Like, that would just save so much time. You'd get a hugely improved product.
Right.
And people like Edgar Wright seem to recognize that. You've got recent posters by him where his thought processes go directly into the poster. The good thing about Afterlife that I worked on was that Ricky Gervais he had final say, and he also had really clear thoughts from the beginning about what he wanted. And that poster was done in, like, I don't know, three or four rounds, which is pretty rare. Usually these posters have so many iterations. You go for like over 10 rounds of changes. First round is a load of freelancers and people in the agency chucking a ton of ideas onto a deck. That deck gets literally skimmed through by someone in the marketing department. They'll kind of like pick a few that they like, goes back to the agency, and it's just like a back and forth of seeing literally what kind of sticks. Yeah, with Ricky it was like, okay, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, and then he obviously left the communication to the marketing team. But the poster was exactly what he wanted. It worked, and yeah, that was one of the most successful and enjoyable kind of projects I worked on because it was so clear. And communication is absolutely the key thing, for sure.
It was a shame when I first learned I was entering this world, this industry, and I was speaking with a screenwriter. Let me know. He's done some pretty good work. I mean, he's definitely up there, successful, and he was like, "Yeah, I wish we had a say in the posters." I'm like, "What? Come again?" He's like, "Yeah, we don't have a say. It's entirely on the marketing department, especially if like you're working with something like Netflix." He had no say in his poster art, his key art. I'm like, "You wrote the thing." I would think you would know what your vision was, but
it's a real shame. Yeah. And sometimes we would turn in posters that had got to the final round and kind of been signed off by the marketing department, and then exactly that. The producers, directors, screenwriters, they literally said like, "That's not our movie." That was the feedback on one project, and it's bizarre, isn't it? It's obviously it's all done to not represent the movie, but to get people through the doors, get the talent big, put the names in the right order, and in a way it must kind of work in a purely marketing way. otherwise they wouldn't keep doing it.
Right.
I guess when you hold an attachment to the film when you come out, that's not the art that you really want to treasure. You want to treasure something that triggers memories, and I guess that's then where alternative movie posters and special edition like steelbook covers and stuff like that, that's when that kind of art comes in.
Yeah,
because
I think that's taking that place. It's
100%.
filling that void. Yeah, it's this the work that's produced is coming out of these studios. It's not the work that we grew up on and that we hold dear. You're not seeing a Drew Struzan, a John Alvin, a Bob Peak. You're not. definitely like more artistic, more a little bit more creative, but it all ties into that kind of wow factor rather than kind of more information based focus on the main posters. The stuff that Poster Posse does is great in that it's mostly digitally based, gets passed around on social media. Something like that is going to be shared so much more than the poster design, because it's unusual, it's different, like I said, it's creative. So yeah, people like Disney have really embraced that in the past few years, and the Poster Posse do incredible stuff. They've got a massive roster of different artists now, different styles. It's something that other companies should sort of learn from, not just in the movie industry but across a ton of different IPs. That creative art is fantastic on social media. It really stops people in their tracks, and if you want to market something, use that. It's kind of, hopefully it will happen, but I'd have thought it would have kind of been proven already by now. I guess Disney have the budget as well, like they can thread. Peace. I come from the world of graphic design. I understand advertising. I understand the purpose of this, so I get it. But why can't it be a good compromisation of doing what you needed to do to buy tickets, but also because it's been done before. That's the puzzling part.
Yeah,
is they know what's worked. I mean, something happened in the 1990s where it switched, and supposedly, big stores like Walmart have a say, and with the poster art, it's that because they want a certain look on their shelves. I hope that's not true anymore. I hope that was stopped. I heard about that in a documentary.
Yeah. I think we must have watched the same thing. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that, isn't it? That at the end of the day, I guess the business defines exactly what the design should be, and that then extends to what was then VHS covers and DVD covers on shelving. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But you're right, it did work before. So yeah, what changed? I guess more focus groups. I've heard stuff like when you have an illustrated poster, go to a focus group, and then it's like an A/B test of say, here's the characters, here's like they would show an illustrated poster. What comes in mind? What kind of film is this? And people think it's like an animation. Like the first thing they see when they see it for like 2 or 3 seconds, they think, oh, it might be an illustration. It's that kind of stuff that it's tick boxes, isn't it? It's marketing via tick boxes, and oh, they've done that. But the thing hasn't lived. That poster hasn't lived and been around in people's consciousness for a little while. It was literally chucked in front of someone in a white room, and they say, oh, this or that. Things need to live and become a cultural device, and then that's when they'll become loved as well.
You're not going to get a authentic measurement in a vacuum.
No,
that's right. I'm pretty much saying exactly what you're saying, just differently, but in a vacuum. And so, you're not going to get a best thing because, it needs to live, it needs to grow, it will become part of the zeitgeist. And don't worry, don't make your money.
Yeah,
especially
that's right.
If you get it to that level.
Yeah. That's it. Long term, they'll be able to make money as well. Right. It's always short term thinking, isn't it? That's across everywhere. Everyone's in it now for the quick buck.
I think it's in that documentary we both watched. I think it was 24 by 36. Is the documentary. It seems like it was the opinion of the older artists, the artists that in the heyday of the 80s and older. It seemed like they blamed technology. It was the creation of graphic computers being used to produce posters. It seemed like that's what happen. Because now, the studios now suddenly have the power to create their own posters. And no longer the artist was the person that studio had to go to. It was almost like the studio was kind of at the mercy of the artist. Can you make your magic happen, please? You know?
Yeah.
And so that leverage was lost the minute the computer was created, Photoshop was created.
So they found their templates, and they saved dollar on artists. They got exactly what they wanted, which was a big white thing with people's heads.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I think that is quite a lot of it, to be fair. And it was probably like the best thing ever at the time. They were like, oh wow, this is what technology can do for us.
Right.
Whereas in actual fact, you look back at those covers and they all totally look the same.
They do, yeah. It's a shame. But at the same time, it's ironic because it's that same technology that has grown and got more sophisticated. Now it's helping you and I. And it's causing a lot of other artists to be inspired, produce this digital work mostly, unless you go get it printed. But it's that same technology that's caused this. And so, it's like it's weird. It's almost like saving it again.
Yeah, I think it's the human touch, like the human input from a pencil. I guess through the 90s, Photoshop was great, but you're basically moving around photographs and adding type, which I'm being a graphic designer, I'm really into, and you can get really, really creative with that. And in the 90s, they super did. They cut up the rules using computers. Just not on film posters. But yeah, I guess that kind of human input has come back in again with Wacom devices and the iPads, and I guess that's kind of like sparked a little bit of humility into computer-generated work again. So you can get things done. You can get things done quickly via computers, but you also have a little bit of human input, like direct from the hand.
Right. It's that it's almost a perfect balance now that you have the quickness and convenience and just the crazy endless possibilities.
It is. I mean, the amount of brushes and that you can use now, it's insane. It's always funny though. Like there's so many. Mix of brush. You can literally pretty much do what you can to a certain level with oils and acrylics. The technology is still getting there, it's still getting better and better, but a lot of people wouldn't be able to tell the difference now, for sure. I think if a layman saw a real oil painting and a digitally created oil in inverted commas, I think it'd be pretty hard to tell the difference now if they're both printed out, like a cheap clay print or whatever. Right.
Yeah. Because I just started adding the canvas texture to my pieces. So once you add that, can you even tell the difference?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's so realistic, and I'm sure there'll be things developing that you'll have a very varied canvas texture, and then the brushes will probably start to interact over the texture that you've created. I guess that's like another step to make it what Adobe do, like with their brushes with what's the guy's name? He does all of their brushes, and then he has all of those brushes, and then whenever you go to an artist and you sort of say, oh, what brush did you use for that? Loads of people end up saying oh yeah, it's just the default Photoshop brush. That's such a classic comment that sort of comes up now. Yes, classic Photoshop brush, but soft.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm guilty of that for the longest time. I'd be just using the default stuff and making it work, and I hear other artists kind of saying, well, I customize this brush and I do all these settings, and I'm sitting over here I don't do any of that.
It's whatever works. It's fun to play around with all of these different brushes, but once you're used to some of the defaults, it's stuff that you always go back to, and if it's part of your process, part of your routine, and why change, really?
Yeah.
Explore, see if there's better stuff that you can do, but if you can do stuff quickly and comfortably with kind of stuff you're used to, stick with it. Yeah. It's fine. There's no shame in the default brush, you know.
Right, yeah. I mean, I just started kind of like playing around with the brush settings.
Look so closely at the little details and things that make Strudan. I was talking to another artist the other day, and he was showing me some of his work, and he'd done these kind of like really fine little lines, like hardly visible, that were just outside the line work on characters' heads and faces and stuff.
Right.
And I looked at it and I said, oh, I think you might have left some of your like reference marks in and reference lines in. He said, oh no, that's something that Strudan used to do. It kind of like blends the faces into the background just by putting these tiny like faint little marks around the outside of heads and stuff. Like, to look at it, you wouldn't know, but if you really zoom in, it's a little technique that he picked up. It's crazy, little things like that. They're so neat.
Yeah, I've noticed that on some of my his. I'm like, why does he do that? Me not knowing why he does it, like it works, so I just do it myself.
Cool. Yeah, apparently it blends your eye, just like blends it with the background a little bit more. It's the same. Wow. It's the same kind of thing that I do with key art, and it's a commonly done thing with like poster art. You basically do a Photoshop layer on top of everything with a noise filter, and then with a blending mode underneath, it just brings all the elements together. So you've got like a comp that might be different heads and a vehicle or whatever, and then that one layer on top with just like noise, and you blend it, bring the opacity down, and it just brings everything together. Yes. So if you get like one sheets at the cinema, take a look, and if you look really closely, I'm sure all of them will have this like noise, and it's grain, you know. It's not, and it's not the printing, it's the artist that has applied that over the top of the art just to bring everything together and make it look more realistic. There's so many little tips. It's like geeky, nerdy, and fascinating. Like, so designer, you know.
Really that's cool. What I did. I definitely do that. I saw the artists doing that. Like, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw Sam. He like takes the extra step. He does that noise layer, and then he also does his canvas layer.
Yep.
And then he'll even, he's so smart. he'll duplicate that, and then he'll invert it to like, so he has like shadow and highlight in the canvas.
Okay, yeah, makes it pop quite a lot.
Right.
Yeah, Sam's great. Really, really good at capturing likeness. I did like join the Domestika course. I haven't had the time to like have a look through it yet. But Sam was a really big influence on me when I started using the iPad. He did an Apple event on Oxford Street in London. So in the main kind of like Apple store in London. Wow. He basically did a presentation and like a tiny half-an-hour course or something on how to draw a face using an iPad Pro. And I always remember going down to that, and that was one of the things that really like sparked my love of this is the kind of thing that I really want to do, you know. And he was talking through his Jaws poster, and then everyone had a go at using an image on the iPad, you know, going through his techniques really, really quickly, but really, really clearly. And everyone there was, you know, trendily sitting on a wooden block, as in Apple stores you've got, you know. And everyone's having a great time just learning about how to use the Apple Pencil, and it's just so accessible, really. It is fantastic. It is like you say, it was a massive game changer.
It was.
Sam's fantastic. Really nice guy.
I wish I would have gotten my iPad much sooner. I wish I would have got it like 5 years ago. Because what took me so long? It's like I have the graphic tablet and all that, and it's always kind of been a struggle with me. Even I've pressed myself. I'll keep using it. It's just having that disconnect, looking at the screen, and all that. The old school type thing, and it was hard. So when I got the iPad, I'm like, oh my gosh! And then I bought the screen texture. It's called Paperlike.
Paperlike, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay, this is what I need. This is perfect.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. My next step was to actually get the what's it? Cintiq. So I can actually do it that way.
Yeah, it's like the Cintiq is great for kind of when you're creating posters that are literally going to be printed large. It's really good for doing it almost at scale, so you're not zooming in so much into a smaller space. I got the iPad Pro, and I then got a Cintiq. Well, first of all, I got one of the Intuos ones, like you said, like where you look at the screen. But I just could not. I could not manage it. Like the disconnect is crazy. And once I was used to the iPad Pro, my mind was just saying, "Nah, don't do that." Because I bought the Intuos for like retouching on posters, like when you draw in hair and stuff like that on movie posters. It's really easy just to use that quickly, look at the screen, draw in the hair. I just couldn't do it. Like, such a disconnect. So I passed on that, got myself a Cintiq. It's not the Pro one, but I think it's like a 22-inch HD. To be honest, I've used it twice since I bought it. I just keep going back to the iPad Pro. So to me, it just feels so much closer than the Cintiq to what it's like drawing on paper. That it's hard to reason with like getting the Cintiq out, and I'm sure there will be a use for it. Like I said, when I'm doing bigger posters more of the time, it will be so much easier to have a bigger screen, kind of draw almost one-to-one, and they are great. Like the Cintiq Pros are incredible, like pretty much 4K, I think, so the resolution's no issue. You can zoom in really, really close. But yeah, I still think for me, my iPad Pro is something that I just keep going back to on whatever project I do. So I'll be interested to hear, like, when you do get your Cintiq, what you think.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad to know that the use for the iPad Pro is still a bit better. That way, I don't feel like I'm missing out too much. No,
a lot of people think it's no way. I think a lot of people think it's like levels. They're like, you've got your Intuos, and then you go to an iPad, and then it's the Cintiq. Now, I think they're all good for different things. It's not like, oh, I'm stepping up to this, I'm stepping up to that. Right. I think they're all good for different things. That's what I found. So yeah, I wouldn't feel like you're missing out because you don't have a Cintiq. It's just bigger screen, right? And obviously you can work like natively within Photoshop, like with a bigger amount of room at the sides and stuff. Right. But apparently,
go ahead.
Apparently, Apple are coming out with a larger iPad Pro like within the next year or two. So I'm kind of like holding off to see if that actually happens. That would be like ideal for me, I think. And also, 3D stuff is supposed to be good now as well. You can paint onto 3D models in Procreate, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so, technology, man.
Technology, I know. I haven't even started looking into 3D stuff because so many of my peers now are starting to look into Blender, and people that I talk to, they'll integrate 3D into posters, and it creates. You don't have to look for a stock image anymore. You can turn it and have it at whatever angle you want. Right. It renders and it looks real. It's awesome. Right.
Yeah, I have Blender, and I've done like one thing on it. I've done the famous donut tutorial.
Yep.
And so that's about it.
How was that? Was it easy? How was your donut?
Yeah, it was easy. I'm very proud of it. I was like, this is a decent donut.
Did you print out your donut? You should have printed out and put it in a frame.
I should. It's a delicious looking donut. It really is. But I want to do it again because, if you ask me to do it again, I'd do it. I can't. I don't remember nothing.
It's always the same with tutorials. Like, when you're going through, it's like, it's great when you're doing it. I did that with After Effects. I took a big After Effects course. I came out thinking, oh, that was so good. I produced something so great. I tried to use it like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, and it all just gone. Whew.
Yeah.
It's got such a steep learning curve. You can kind of, I do motion, but it's always like, I have to go into the software and relearn it almost every time. Like, I'll be on Google. It's like, oh, I know how to do it up to there, but I now need to go onto Google and just like see how I do that little bit. It's not something like InDesign or Photoshop where you're just, you're flying around. Sort of.
Right.
I think it's a great skill. Like, if I was to pass on to stuff to people, I would say, yeah, start learning 3D. More and more agencies really like it as well. So like advertising agencies, marketing agencies for films. It's a thing that they are really like looking for, because they'll come up with the concept exactly as we've said, and they want someone to visualize it for the first round. Then if you can come in and say, yeah, I'll crack out a 3D version of it, render it.
I can get you a donut.
Yeah. As long as these agencies just come up with a load of donut ideas and like do loads of donut films, then you're the man.
I got this down. Watch out, Paul Shipper.
Donut movie, like Paul Shipper.
We're at the end of the episode. Now I have to ask you, what are your top 3 movie posters? You supplied me.
I supplied you with movie posters. To pick my favourites is impossible. So I guess I've gone for my actual favourite, which is the Jurassic Park original poster. I actually found out the designer's name today, so I'm gonna Tom Martin. Tom Martin. Yeah.
Yes.
Again, it's because I have memories of being the right age when the film came out, and I think you talked about this with Richard Davies as well, like just how brave it was, just to show that, and it's totally Spielberg thing to do, of not revealing your monster or whatever until the movie. Right. You've literally, and it's, I don't know, it's just, it's so simple, but it is genius, because it's also kind of meta in that it's the logo used in the park, in the movie. So it's almost like it's being tied into the movie. Another poster, I guess this is kind of from being a key artist kind of angle, is the Little Miss Sunshine main one sheet, I think it is. I think it was the one sheet, which has kind of become quite iconic itself.
It's amazing.
And it's the fact that it was an indie film that has become kind of, the poster is almost like as iconic as the film, probably more so. You see it kind of parodied and stuff quite a lot, with the van, the VW van. And it's just really clever, but it's done it so understated. It's not flashy, but it creates like the direction and the movement of the van through typography. So you've got like sunshine on the right, and then it kind of like shrinks as it goes backwards, just as if it would with a like a swipe, like with a trail going behind a car or whatever.
I never noticed that before.
Yeah, it's so clever, and the fact that the type is all set to the right as well, so you've got all that energy on the right, and the cast members are like left behind, so you've got everything on the right, and then the characters are kind of like even more kind of left behind on the left. It's like, I think it's fantastic. It's so minimal, but it does so much with so little. I guess kind of an obvious one for the alternative movie poster scene is Ollie Moss's Star Wars series, which kind of like influenced a ton of artists who are kind of all making movie posters at the moment. Just clever, genius.
Yep. Too clever. It needs too clever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll put this as my least favorite poster because it's too clever.
Thanks so much for taking time out of your day of being amazing and talented and talking with me.
Well, thank you for being amazing and talented yourself, and for making this podcast and inviting me along, because it's been fun.
Oh, thank you. Fun. You're definitely welcome back and talk more. So I hope you do come back.
Me too. I hope you'll have me back.
Great. Well, folks, that is it. That's another episode of your local Cineplex, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.
Tricks are for kids.